So this webinar will be no longer than 40 minutes. It's recorded, so I'll send you the recording after through email within the next 48 hours. So my name's Kisa. I'm the Marketing Executive at Property Button. So today's agenda, we'll be looking at the student rental market, Waterford rental market, the challenges faced by letting agents, some of the solutions, maximising landlord retention and referrals, finding the perfect tenant, and the future of Ireland's rental industry. So just a bit about Property Button. We're an award-winning property technology company with a vision to maximise occupancy. And how we do that is by helping property professionals streamline their tasks, making their lives easier, and helping people move into properties faster. So we use data to offer our digital solutions, and we work with all property professionals from developers, estate agents, letting agents, tenants, landlords, and our core values are honest, upbeat, practical, dependable, and approachable. So we help letting agents in particular from the moving in stage of getting their tenants set up with their utilities and using prop docs for e-signatures and inventory and inspection. And then also with moving out, transferring the utilities back to the landlords and using prop docs to provide a digital streamline process. So we'll look at the current student rental market. So the number of students in Ireland is 250,000 and there's 180,000 full-time students. So there's 53k students entering the system every year, and the housing capacity is 31,000 bed spaces in Ireland. So it's a very short supply, and there's 3,100 properties on rent in Ireland. It's the lowest it's ever been. So although there's very short supply now, it is good to hear that there's huge increases in plans permitted and plans granted, and there's, as well as our own developers working on student accommodation, there's huge UK developers coming over to Ireland to help with getting student accommodation and getting it up and ready as soon as possible. But it will be a short supply for the next coming years until it is ready. So the rising rent is a huge factor too. There's a 10% year-on-year increase in the average asking rent. So that's a huge increase every year. And the tenant churn then is a big impact for letting agents. With the seasonality of students moving in and out of a property, they can have, it's very hard for letting agents to manage this, as it's all done at the one time. And then also properties are left idle for the 3 months in between of the summer months. And the housing quality as well. Lack of purpose-built student accommodation in Ireland. In the UK, actually, they're repurposing old shipping containers for student accommodation. So here are some of the figures on student accommodation in different counties and student towns. So as you can see, Waterford is 446, and the students, I think the number of students in WIT is 8,061, so there's a huge difference in students being able to find student accommodation. So student renting in Waterford. So we'll look at some of the figures of Waterford population, the Waterford city, the number of students and the number of student accommodation. So the housing capacity is 42,335 private households in the area. So there is a high level of home ownership in Waterford, with a total of 29,000 homes being owned, which is 69%, and that only leaves 14.7% of households being rented. So that's a very small number at 6,000 private rental accommodation households. So you have the number of accommodation spaces, which is 443, and then the number of private rental accommodation, which is 6,000. It still doesn't add up to the number of students in Waterford, let alone the number of people looking for rented property in Waterford. So the cost of renting on average is 634 a month. And the quality of houses in Waterford is very high. 40% of houses in Waterford have been built in the last 20 years. So this may have a very big effect on students renting as well, as maybe landlords don't want to rent their properties out to students, and maybe the cost is too high for students renting those high quality houses. So the challenges faced by prop pros. So if you're dealing with student tenants, they are a special breed, and people are well aware of some of the the variables that come with a student. So students are unpredictable and they're usually under financial strain, and they are seasonal as well. So this behaviour can be problematic for letting agents, leading to high turnover, maintenance issues, and sometimes evictions. So there are a number of challenges when renting to students. Emotion and empathy is a huge one. Often it's not the student that you're dealing with, but their parents, as it's the student's first time renting, and their parents have a huge play in their lives still. So it's usually the parent you're dealing with, usually the parent who's the guarantor on the property, and it's going to have a major effect because with the lack of student accommodation and the lack of properties available, parents can get very stressed about the whole situation. So there is a huge emotional kind of factor, and in the communication aspects of things, it can take up a lot of time to deal with the communication between the student and the parent and make sure all parties are happy. Constant churn with the seasonal impact and the surge as well. I spoke with WIT Student Union, and they had said that, as well as WIT accommodation offices, they had said that all students move in the last week of August and September for registration, and they leave as soon as exams are finished at the end of at the start of the summer. So it's completely seasonal, and there's very kind of leeway, like little leeway in terms of it not being that students move in these times. So there's a huge rush for letting agents to deal with in this time, and can be very hard to manage. As well as the administration side of things, getting so many students set up in such a short space of time can be very, like a lot of administration work, getting utilities switches sorted, deposit, sending a lease, and it can be very overwhelming. As well, there are certain demands from the digital tenant these days, and we want to be able to, we're expected to meet these demands. So the cost as well, timing of how long it takes to get somebody set up, paperwork, ink, man hours, it all adds up. And the opportunity cost to a landlord, the length of time it takes to get somebody into a property, the landlord expects this to be done as efficiently as possible. If not, he's losing revenue. So we have to manage that, and last minute cancellations from tenants can often lead to a massive backlog in getting somebody into the property. Management and inspection, these guys can be messy. Inventory checks and checking the property regularly are a huge factor. And finding the right tenant, late rent, verifying references, and then regulation. Regulation is absolutely a minefield, and it is something we'd like to cover in another webinar separate to this, because it's just always changing and very hard to keep up with for letting agents. The list is endless of so many things to do. So we've narrowed it down to 7 steps with setting up a new tenancy, and a lot of these steps will go unnoticed by the landlord and the tenant, and usually the letting agent is doing this off their own back. So these are the 3 key areas we've identified. Very manual process, managing different portals, and lots of reliance on the landlords and students signing the leases on time and returning them. So all of these areas are compounded into the student rush, and the steps and length involved and the nature of the process can leave the landlord missing out on revenue. So we can't go on with the same problems and expecting them to be solved by the way our old process is. We need to think of different routes. So property technology. There is a pervasive underlying fear that software will be undoing of the humankind. In reality, it's much more likely that prop tech isn't going to destroy us or even take our jobs. In fact, it's very likely it's going to help us do our jobs better. And while it may seem like every software engineer in Silicon Valley is trying to create the perfect algorithm to replace human workers, many like Property Button are actually trying to help letting agents and other property professionals do their job better. When you think, for an example, computers, when they first arrived, people were terrified and they were very reluctant to use them. But when you look outside or around your office, you can see that they actually help people to do their jobs better, and they actually create jobs. So why use property technology? You can use property technology in nearly every single aspect of your work these days, from marketing your rental properties, advertising vacancies. I actually read an article this week that a first property was sold through Facebook live streaming. So there's a number of avenues you can use, and accepting applications, screening renters, signing e-leases, and conducting inspections. So how PropDocs can help is through streamlining the lease process. Signing for your lease on your phone through electronic signature, making sure it's done at the tap of a button, and making sure everything is sorted and utility switches are automatically merged into the e-signature. Everything is done on the go, on your phone, so you don't have to worry, and it's all traceable. So Treaty Realtors, we reached out to them. They're a big fan of PropDocs, and we asked them how long it takes them to send a lease and to upload all information, and they said 5 minutes to complete a lease, and which is a huge reduction in time for them, whereas before it took about an hour and a half for this entire process. So here's how the feature works. You're very familiar with our utility management service. So it's just 2 new buttons added onto the dashboard you're used to. One for creating a lease template and the other for sending a lease. So you can literally send a lease at the touch of a button. So for managing a lease template, it's as easy as a Word document. There's some pre-populated fields that link to when you're uploading the Emperor N switch, so very little time duplicating work, and you can manage the fields and chop and change the fields how you like. So there's no software installation with this service. It's just a separate portal. All of your documents are stored in your dashboard, so you can keep check of when documents are signed, sent, and expecting a signature. So very simple process. Simply log in and populate your tenant information, send the lease. Your tenant will then sign for the lease, and it's fully regulated and data compliant, and then you can check to see if a lease has been signed and where it's at. Once the tenant signs the lease, it will automatically go to the landlord, and when the landlord has signed the lease, it will automatically go to the utility switchover. So it's a very streamlined process and very easy to use. So no more paperwork, no more tenants slipping away last minute, because you can get them to actually sign there and then on their phone, and no more trips to the property. As well, no more trips for students coming into your office, which can be very hard to get them to dedicate time to come into your office in the first place. So as you can see, we've reduced the steps from 7 to 4, so cutting out a lot of work. Everything done at one time in one portal. It's a complete audit trail and fully compliant with RTB. So the process is completely streamlined. With PropDocs, avoid phone calls, text, emails, and the delays they cause. Use your time supporting your existing clients and winning new clients. Save hassle and enjoy a better work-life balance. Use the money saved to reinvest in your staff, marketing, and business. Create new revenue stream through the commissioner and through utility switches, and preempt customer problems by offering a seamless experience. We're all aware that students talk, and actually students talk more so than anybody else because they all meet in WIT every single day. So it's very easy for you to damage your reputation, but also very easy for you to boost your reputation. And if you're offering a digital streamlined process that students expect these days, being a digital generation, it can boost your reputation and have a massive impact. And also staying compliant. As well as that, you're also boosting your landlord's reputation. So your landlord is getting a larger sum of money for the property because students are moved into the property faster, and they can also say your landlord is actually in a different country. You can get for them to sign for the lease anywhere they are. So it's a very easy service for everybody on board. Who would you call first It's very easy to see that you call the person with the highest ratings online, and this is how the world works these days. Especially students check and verify everything online before purchasing a product. So this can have a huge impact on your service too. So the student persona can just be down to one thing, and people often have a certain kind of general look on students, but there is a variety of student types and student maturity levels. There's undergraduates, graduates, postgraduates, scholars, exchange students, and part-time students, and that's something to bear in mind when looking for the right tenant. There's no quick wins, but using PropDocs, we can begin providing occupancy summaries, identifying the performance of a tenant over their tenancy lifetime, and create profiles for tenants, and register with RTB. So just some best practices for students. Go paperless and appeal to the landlords and tenants and meet their expectations of today. Invest in marketing to save time and get quality leads. Make quick, informed decisions on applicants and stay organized in the office on the go. And this can be done through using PropDocs on your phone when needed. So this recording will be available on our blog, and we will email it to you in the next 48 hours. If you have any questions now or after, please drop me an email. There's a 30-day free trial available at PropDocs currently, so even if you're in any way considering it, now would be a good time. We can take you through the whole process. Also, when getting set up, your first 5 leases will be actually done with our account manager and yourself, so we're there with you every step of the way until you're ready to go. And often we find that people only need us for the first 2, and then they're able to do it, as it's a very simple process. There's no installation with PropDocs at all. Everything's done on your online portal. So questions? We just had a few questions prior to the webinar. Are electronic leases compliant? So new EU regulation established the principle that an e-signature should not be identified as denied as a legal effect on the grounds that it is in electronic form. So it is completely compliant with all regulations within EU and Ireland and RTB. How much is PropDocs? It's €40 monthly subscription or an annual subscription, which brings it down to €30 a month. And how easy is it to use? So we spoke about Treaty Realtors. They got set up straight away. He found it so easy. He actually didn't need our help with any leases. Through the demo, he understood everything, and he currently reduces his administration time from an hour and a half down to 5 minutes with each e-lease, and he's sending all of his e-leases through PropDocs currently. So that's it, guys. Thanks very much for joining me. Any questions, please drop me an email, and I hope to hear from you soon.